Welcome to UAN Payroll 101, Level 5. In this level, we will discuss payroll upkeep and annual reporting for payroll. Annual reporting for payroll. The end of the year can be difficult. Mixed together final payrolls, temporary budget legislation, last-minute legislation that boards love to do, annual financial reports, and oh yes, a little thing called the holidays. And it can be overwhelming. But it doesn't have to be. With some pre-planning and payroll upkeep all year long, the end of the year can run quite smoothly. Other than last-minute legislation the board wants you to do, but you can't control that one. Most annual reporting for payroll is made much easier because the UAN software keeps track of all of the information needed for a report or generates the report for you. Payroll upkeep. What payroll upkeep means is that during the year, each payroll, you make sure that each employee's pay is correct. If there was something wrong with an employee's pay, you voided the incorrect warrant, or EFT, and then entered a new wage. You did not enter a new wage for the employee and leave the incorrect wage unvoided in UAN. If this happened, then the employee's W-2 would have higher wages than actually earned and would be incorrect. If a withholding was deducted that should not have been deducted from an employee and the withholding paid, you reimburse the employee the withholding amount through a wage adjustment in payroll utilities and included on the next payment for the withholding the negative amount from the employee reimbursement. This is payroll upkeep, and it's much easier to do throughout the year than trying to fix any mistakes at the end of the year before submitting any annual payroll reports. By keeping your payroll clean during the year, you can achieve this peaceful Zen state during year end. Refer to the UAN Payroll Manual for specific instructions on wage corrections and the Pre-Close Housekeeping Handbook. Ohio Income Tax Annual Report. Every employer maintaining an office or transacting business within the state of Ohio and making payment of any compensation to an employee, whether a resident or non-resident, must withhold Ohio income tax. Every employer is also required to file Ohio Form IT-941, Annual Reconciliation of Ohio Income Tax Withheld. The form is due on or before January 31st of the following year. The IT-941 form reconciles monthly Ohio gross payroll, Ohio tax withheld, and previous Ohio tax monthly payments to the IT-501 form submitted each month and payments received through Ohio Business Gateway. These also have to reconcile to the employee's W-2 form. Basically, all of your previous Ohio tax monthly payments and the IT-501 forms must match your total on your Ohio IT-941. Displayed is the IT-941 form completed for year 2014. This form is completed through Ohio Business Gateway. This is the backside of the IT-941, which summarizes monthly amount totals. If monthly payments are equal to Ohio income tax withheld, then there's no balance due or any refund. If payments are greater than income tax withheld, then the state would owe the entity a refund for an overpayment. If payments are less than income tax withheld, then the entity would owe the difference to the state when submitting the IT-941. You should complete the back side before the front with the monthly Ohio gross payroll and the monthly Ohio income tax withheld. Withheld is not necessarily what was paid. So this amount should come from wage reports and not from withholding payment information. Here is the UAN Ohio tax report for the year, showing the total Ohio income tax withheld, gross wages, and taxable wages. This report is compiled from wage records and not from withholding payment records. Let's look at the withholding summary paid report. The withholding summary paid report shows us the total amount of Ohio income tax for the year. And as you can see, we paid all of the taxes that were withheld from the employee wages. Local income tax annual reporting. This can get sticky at the end of the year, depending on how many different local income tax entities you have to withhold and pay. If there are several different agencies collecting the taxes, you will be required to fill out several different annual reconciliation forms showing the amounts withheld and paid for each local income tax. So be sure that you know the annual reporting requirements for each taxing agency. There are several different reports in UAN that will be helpful to you when completing the different reconciliation forms. School District Income Tax Annual Reporting. All employers required to withhold school district income taxes must complete Ohio Form SD 141, the School District Annual Reconciliation of Tax Withheld Report. This form is due on or before January 31st of the following year. For each school district that the entity withheld tax, you must list the following: the school district name, school district number, the amount of tax withheld, the amount paid during the year, and any underpayment or overpayment of tax. The SD 141 form should be completed and filed through Ohio Business Gateway. You should first complete all columns shown on the lower half of the Ohio SD 141 form. List each school district separately. Then you will want to bring the totals of column C and column D and enter these amounts on line 1 and 2 of the form SD 141. If line 2 is less than line 1, subtract line 2 from line 1 and enter the balance of the school district income tax due on line 3. You will then need to make a payment through Ohio Business Gateway for any amount due. If line 2 is greater than line 1, subtract line 1 from line 2 and enter the overpayment of school district income tax on line 4. School District 141 form reconciles monthly Ohio gross payroll, school district income tax withheld, and previous school district income tax monthly payments to the SD 101 forms submitted each month through Ohio Business Gateway. These amounts also have to reconcile to the employee's W-2. Here is the UAN school tax report for the year, showing the total school district income tax withheld, gross wages, and taxable wages. IRS Form W-2 and Form W-3. I will be quite honest with you. For several years, I dreaded filing W-2 forms. Not only are they important forms to the IRS, but they are important forms to your employees, who often want them as quickly as possible after the end of the year, if they know they will get a refund from the IRS. But I'm here to tell you now that you do not need to dread filing W-2 forms. You can ensure that they are correct and make getting them out to the employees in a timely fashion doable. We will go through the W-2 process and show you how to ensure their accuracy and make this time of year easier to get through. IRS Form W-2. An employer is responsible for furnishing Form W-2, wage and tax statement, to each employee from whom income, Social Security, or Medicare tax was withheld. Statements to employees must be furnished by January 31st of the following year. An employer uses Form 941, Employer's Quarterly Federal Tax Return, to report wages paid and taxes withheld. All four-quarter Form 941 report totals must match the total wages shown on all Form W-2s issued to all employees for that same period. Verification of information. Before December 31st each year, you should verify the basic information that will print on the W-2s: the entity name, address, federal and state tax ID numbers, local income tax abbreviations, and school district numbers. Also verify all employees' name, address, and Social Security number. This verification ensures that a W-2 won't be rejected by the IRS, state, or local income tax agency for incorrect entity or employee information. Also, confirm that you've paid all of the current year taxes. Doing this makes sure that when you compare tax withheld, paid, and reported to the W-2, the amounts will match. Before printing and filing W-2 forms, you should verify that all the amounts that will appear on the W-2 form are accurate for each employee. Most of the boxes on the W-2 form are self-explanatory, while others are not and can be complicated. Be sure that you read the instructions from the IRS for Forms W-2 and W-3 each year to remind yourself what amount should be in each box and to make sure that you know about any changes in reporting requirements from the previous year. Box 12, A through D, is designated to report other amounts not included in earlier boxes that the IRS requires reported, such as employer contributions to a health savings account. That would be code W. If the entity has employer-sponsored health coverage, then the cost of the coverage, the employee share and employer share, must be reported in Box 12 using IRS code DD for each employee covered. So read your manuals from the IRS so that you know the things that need to be included. Box 13 should have a check for retirement plan if the employee is a member of OPERS or OPNFPF. Box 14 is used to report any other information you want to give to your employee. UAN uses Box 14 to report the amount of employee share deducted and submitted for retirement to OPERS or OPNFPF for each participating employee. The UAN Wage Withholding Detail Report is a good report to review to be sure that all the amounts required for the W-2 form look accurate for each employee for the year. You want to look for anything that seems out of place. Say you see two payments for an employee with the same payment date, but different payment numbers. This might indicate that you forgot to void an incorrect wage payment. This employee's W-2 form would not be accurate for the year if you did not void the incorrect payment before printing the W-2 form. The amounts on the W-2 would be inflated by the unvoided payment. It's much easier to catch and correct mistakes before printing and filing W-2 forms than it is after. This is why it's important to review the W-2 form amounts for each employee. You can see on the report that's displayed the wage payment amount for employee Bruce Metzger. The total is $32,884.41. And when we look at the W-2 report, we can see that that matches. So we can feel good since these amounts match that Bruce Metzger's W-2 is accurate. The UAN W-2 report that you see displayed shows you the base wage amounts for each tax, the amount withheld for each tax, and the OPERS or OPNFPF retirement amount withheld for each employee, just as they will appear on the W-2 form. The report will also total all employee amounts for each type of tax. This is helpful for completing the W-3 form that must accompany all W-2 forms. Compare the W-2 report totals to your file copies of the year's tax reports for federal, state, school, local taxes, and OPERS or OPNFPF to confirm that you have reported and paid the amounts that will be reported on the W-2s. Compare each tax district or type separately. For example, 941s would be compared to federal, Social Security, and Medicare amounts. Add the monthly or quarterly reports for the year together to arrive at the total you reported and paid to each district during the year. You should not print the reports from UAN. Reports printed from UAN software at this time will generate the same amounts used on the W-2. You need to review the copies of the reports you filed during the year with each agency. You should have paper copies, or if you report online, you may be able to go to the taxing district website and print copy of the report you filed and the list of payments you made. Note that the W-2 report only reflects the employee share of Medicare and Social Security, not the combined employee and employer share that you report on the 941. To compare Medicare and Social Security from the W-2 report to the totals on the 941 quarterly report, take the report total of each item from the W-2 report and multiply by 2 to arrive at the combined total amount that should have been reported on the 941 quarterly reports. If you had fraction of cent adjustments, those amounts should bring the items into balance with the W-2 totals. Note that it's normal and correct for OPERS and OPNFPF amounts reported on the W-2 to differ from the totals reported to OPERS and OPNF for the year. The W-2 is a tax report, not a retirement report. Tax reports very rarely correlate to the state retirement reports, as tax reports reflect withholding by paycheck date, regardless of pay period, and while OPERS and OPNF reports are based on pay period, not pay date. In other words, do not edit the W-2 amounts to match your OPERS or OPNFPF reports. UAN can produce a report for OPERS and OPNFPF by pay date that should match the amounts displayed on the W-2 form for each employee. Copies of W-2 forms. If employment ends before December 31st, you may furnish copies to the employee at any time after employment ends, but no later than the end of January each new year. If an employee asks for Form W-2, give the employee the completed copies within 30 days of the request or within 30 days of the final wage payment, whichever one is later. You may furnish Forms W-2 to employees on IRS official forms or on acceptable substitute forms. The UAN W-2 forms printed on blank paper are an acceptable substitute form for the IRS. Correcting W-2 forms. Once W-2 forms have been filed with the Social Security Administration, you must make any corrections using Form W-2C. If an error is identified before the Form W-2 is filed, but after providing the form to the employee, changes should be made on a new original form. Be sure to mark the incorrect W-2 form void at the top before submitting to the IRS. IRS Form W-3. The W-3 form compiles the amounts from all of the individual employee W-2 forms. The amounts recorded in each box must equal the total of all included W-2 forms. The W-3 form is submitted to the Social Security Administration along with copy A W-2 form. Medicare Qualified Government Employment, or MQGE. Remember that all employees hired after March 31st, 1986 are subject to Medicare tax. State and local employers that provide coverage under a public retirement system may have employees who are not subject to Social Security, but are subject to Medicare tax, such as OPERS and OP and FPF employees. This is referred to as Medicare Qualified Government Employment. MQGE W-2 forms are filed separately from those W-2 forms for employees covered by Social Security and Medicare. Paper MQGE W-2 forms must be submitted with Form W-3 with the Medicare Government Employee box checked. For non-MQGE employees, check box 941. Remember, those are the employees that have Social Security and Medicare withheld. Thankfully, if employees are set up correctly, deducting either Social Security or OPERS and OP&F, the UAN software shows you the type of W-3 form that their W-2 forms should be submitted with. The software groups the employees to print the W-2 forms and the proper W-3 form. Let's look at how you'd be sure that the W-3 form totals are correct for each box. We will use our Fake Entities 4941 quarterly reports. You can find them on pages 185 and 186 in the Payroll 101 document. First, let's look at the total earnings for our fake entity for the year. Wages, tips, and other compensation. So if you look at the 4941 quarterly reports, the first quarter's total was $66,386.04. Second quarter was $59,097.33. Third quarter was $67,696.39. And fourth quarter was $59,097.33, with the total for the year on W-3 line 1 being $252,277.09. And as you can see on our W-2 report, the amounts match. The federal income tax wages are $252,277.09. Now we're going to look at the federal income tax withheld from wages, tips, and other compensation on W-3, line 2. First quarter, the amount withheld was $5,366.91. Second quarter, $4,481.94. Third quarter, $5,173.43, and fourth quarter, $4,481.94, for a total for the year on the W-3 line 2 of $19,504.22. And when we look at our report total for the federal income tax amount withheld, you can see that it does equal $19,504.22. So what's going to appear on the W-3 is equal to the 4-quarter 941 withheld amount. Taxable Social Security wages. First quarter 941 was $1,500.66. Second quarter, $3,000.99. Third quarter, $3,000.99. And fourth quarter, $3,000.99. So, the total Social Security wages for the year that will appear on W-3 line 3 is $10,503.63. And you can see on our W-2 report that they equal Social Security taxable wages is $10,503.63. Next, let's look at Social Security withheld from taxable Social Security wages. On the first quarter 941, the amount withheld was $93.04. Now remember, on the 941, you're going to see a total of $186.08, but you want to divide that by 2 because that amount is the employee and employer share together. The second quarter, the total was $372.12. You divide that by 2 and you get $186.06. And the third and fourth quarters were the same. So the Social Security withheld from taxable Social Security wages, W-3, line 4, total $651.22. So let's look at our W-2 report and see if they equal. And you can see next to Social Security that the total is $651.22 for the year. Next, let's look at taxable Medicare wages and tips. On the first quarter 941, taxable Medicare wages were $66,386.04. Second quarter was $59,097.33. The third quarter was $67,696.39. And the fourth quarter was $59,097.33. So our total taxable Medicare wages on line 5 of our W-3 total for the year was $252,277.09. And this is equal to the total amount on the W-2 report. Notice next to Medicare, $252,277.09. Medicare withheld from taxable Medicare wages. Again, we're going to divide these by 2. First quarter 941 total was $1,925.20 divided by 2 equals $962.60. Second quarter was $1,713.82 divided by 2, which equals $856.91. Third quarter 941 was $1,963.20 divided by 2 equals $981.60. And for fourth quarter, it was $1,713.82 divided by 2, which is $856.91. So our total for the year of Medicare withheld from taxable Medicare wages on our W-3 line 6 is $3,657.96. So let's see what it shows on a W-2 report. Look next to Medicare, and you can see the total withheld was $3,657.96. So now let's look at taxable Ohio wages for the W-3 line 16. We're not going to go through each month, but these were the amount of Ohio taxable wages for each month of the year. And our total for the year ends up at $252,277.09. And again, we want to look at our W-2 report, and we see that the amount matches. It's $252,000, $277.09. Ohio income tax withheld from Ohio taxable wages, W-3 line 17. Again, we're not going to go through each month, but these were the amounts that were withheld and paid to the state of Ohio. And the total for the year was $6,060.72. And you can see on our W-2 report for Ohio income tax, withheld was $6,060.72. You can also see on the reverse side of the Ohio Form IT-941 that that was our annual total, $6,000, and they rounded up to $61. So all of our totals match. Taxable school district wages, W-3, line 18. Again, these are the taxable wages for our school districts for each month of the year. And the total for the year was $180,299.73. Now remember, this isn't going to equal gross wages because not everyone has school district income tax withheld. Now let's look at our W-2 report. For school, you can see that it equals $180,299.73. School district income taxes withheld from taxable school district wages, W-3, line 19. These were the total amounts withheld and paid for each month of the year, and the total for the year was $3,076.19. Now let's look on our W-2 report. Look at school, and you can see that the total withheld was $3,076.19. So you can see how time-consuming but important this process is. If the W-3 amounts are different from the regular tax payment totals throughout the year, then you know you have an issue to investigate. But if the amounts are the same, then you can feel confident that the submission of W-2 forms and the W-3 form to the Social Security Administration will be correct. Common reporting errors for W-2 and W-3 forms. On our W-2 form, incorrect employee names and Social Security numbers. Using the incorrect wage base for Social Security or incorrect wage base limitation for Medicare. Omitted wage or tax fields. All fields that apply to each employee must be complete. Wrong tax year form used. The W-2 is not legible if you've handwritten it. A void box was checked on the W-2 in error. Incorrect or omitted Medicare wages. Included amounts in wages that are not covered by Social Security or Medicare. Some common errors for the W-3 form. Incorrect or missing employer identification number. Omitted wage or tax fields. Wrong tax year form used. The W-3 was not legible if handwritten. Failure to file copy A of Form W-2 for each employee with the Social Security Administration. Incorrect or omitted Medicare wages. Included amounts in wages that are not covered by Social Security or Medicare. Failure to file Form W-2C and W-3C when submitting an adjusted Form 941 or 941C from a prior year. Filing duplicate Forms 941. If you file duplicate forms of 941, the Social Security Administration is going to believe that the amounts on your W-2 or W-3 are incorrect because they will have more amounts from 941 quarterly forms than you have on your W-3. Ohio Form IT-3, Transmittal of Wage and Tax Statements. All employees must file with the Ohio Department of Taxation by the last day of February a copy of Ohio Form IT-3. Employers with 250 or more W-2 forms must send this information on magnetic media using an approved format. Employers that issue less than 250 W-2 forms are no longer required to send paper copies, but you are encouraged to send this information on magnetic media. Form IT-3 must be submitted through Ohio Business Gateway and is due by the last day of February of the succeeding calendar year. Summarizes total employee compensation, total Ohio income tax liability, and total Ohio school district income tax liability. The total amounts on this form must be equal to the total of all employee W-2 forms corresponding amounts and to the total Ohio income tax liability amounts submitted on the IT-501 forms and the total Ohio school district income tax liability amounts submitted on the SD-101 forms monthly throughout the year. OPERS non-contributing report. What is a non-contributing report? All public employers are required to submit annually a complete list of all of the non-contributing employees who have been elected or appointed and a list of individuals who, in the prior year, provided services to the entity and were classified as an independent contractor. A non-contributing employee is any employee that does not contribute to a state retirement system. In other words, any employee whose wages do not qualify for state retirement, such as a volunteer fireman. Also included are elected or appointed officials who chose not to contribute to OPERS, but rather Social Security. The non-contributing report is due to OPERS by January 31st of each year and reflects prior year information. Employers who submit regular contribution reports to OPERS through ECS are required to submit the non-contributing report through ECS, and employers who submit paper regular contribution reports are required to submit the non-contributing report on paper also. What information should be included on the report? Employee or independent contractor Social Security number, name, status, elected official, independent contractor, exempt, or non-earnable salary, date range the individual worked during the previous year, job title, and amount paid during the date range worked. The UAN software makes submitting this report simple. The software compiles the employees' or elected officials' data, and if the fiscal officer completed the vendor payee screen indicating that the independent contractor should be included on the report, it includes their information also. Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation. During the past century, workers' compensation has provided a fundamental safety net for both employers and injured workers. BWC's goal is to serve the entity by following the principles of prevention and care. In doing so, they will keep workers safer on the job, help injured workers recover and return to their lives at work and at home, and keep workers' compensation costs down. BWC is committed to working alongside Ohio's employers to help prevent workplace accidents from happening. They do this through industry-specific safety training to on-site consulting services. They offer numerous programs and initiatives specifically designed to protect the entity's most valuable resource, its employees. However, despite everyone's best efforts, injuries and illness can occur in any workplace at any time. In the unfortunate event that a worker's injured, BWC, along with the entity's managed care organization, are dedicated to providing quality health care and returning them to productive life at home and at work. When prevention and care work together, it reduces cost and lowers premiums for employers. Most importantly, it keeps Ohio's workers healthy and safe on the job. To calculate the entity's premium payment, BWC requires annual reporting of the previous year's wages. BWC annual payroll reporting and premium payment. This is new information affecting 2015 and beyond. Prospective billing for public employers. What? BWC currently collects premium after the coverage period. In other words, BWC extends coverage prior to the entity paying for it. With the switch to prospective billing, BWC will require payment before it provides coverage. When? The transition to prospective billing will begin January 1st, 2016 for public employers. Why? The switch to the industry standard of prospective billing provides many benefits, including an overall base rate reduction of 4% for public employers, allowing BWC to better forecast the level of premium required to be collected each policy year. Opportunities for more flexible payment options, up to 12 monthly installments. Better opportunities for BWC to provide quotes online or by phone. So how will this be done? BWC will provide all employers with a notice of estimated annual premium in November each year. Beginning in 2017, public employers will be given a monthly payment schedule with the option to select a different payment plan prior to the start of the policy year. Employers will have the following installment options: monthly, bi-monthly, quarterly, biannually, and annually. The option an employer chooses is effective for the entire policy year. An employer's coverage will lapse if BWC does not receive timely payment of an installment. Payroll tune-up report. Employers must reconcile their actual payroll for the prior policy year. BWC is now calling this a payroll tune-up. Public employers report payroll annually. The payroll tune-up report is sent to the entity from Ohio Bureau of Workers' Comp each January following the completion of the policy year and must be completed, reported, and any additional premium paid online or over the phone. The report will be due in July each year, 45 days after the close of the policy year. BWC will not lapse employers for not reporting the payroll tune-up. However, BWC will remove employers from their current rating plan or discount program if it does not receive the payroll tune-up by the due date. Any outstanding tune-up reports will render the employer ineligible for participation in future rating plans or discount programs until the employer submits the outstanding report. Employers must submit payroll tune-up reports online, by phone, or in person at BWC Customer Service Office. BWC Annual Public Employment Risk Reduction Program, or PERRP. PERRP's purpose is to ensure public employees in Ohio have a safe and healthy work environment by identifying workplace hazards and reducing those hazards through effective safety and health programs, developing and enforcing mandatory job safety and health standards, maintaining a reporting and record-keeping system to monitor job-related injuries and illnesses, providing assistance, training, and other support programs to help public employers and workers understand their rights and responsibilities. Requirements for entities. First, the entity must post the required PERRP poster. This replaces OSHA poster. Second, record-keeping forms, which are a log of work-related injuries and illnesses and a summary of work-related injury and illnesses. This annual report records for the previous year the entity's work-related injuries and illnesses. On February 1st of each year, employers must post the summary form 300 AP in a visible location so your employees are aware of the injuries and illnesses occurring in their workplace. You must post it in a location that is accessible to public employees and/or public employees' representatives. However, you do not need to post it in areas accessible to the public or non-employees. The entity must keep a log and summary for each physical work location and a master summary that condenses the data totals from each location. Submit the master summary to Public Risk Reduction Program at BWC on or before February 1st of each year. For detailed information on the PERRP log and summary report, please contact the Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation. And third, fatality reporting. This must be done verbally to PERRP within 8 hours of any accident. IRS Transmittal of Health Coverage Information Returns. These are new forms for 2016. These are IRS forms 1094B, 1095B, 1094C, and 1095C. What? I've never heard of these. The purpose of filing these forms is to submit information about employer-sponsored health coverage required by the IRS as part of the Affordable Care Act. If the entity provides minimum essential health coverage to an employee during a calendar year, then the entity must file an information return reporting the coverage. Minimum essential coverage includes government-sponsored programs, eligible employer-sponsored programs, and individual market plans. If the entity has fewer than 50 full-time employees, now this includes full-time equivalent employees, and the definition of that is an employee that works at least 30 hours per week. Then you will file 1094B, summary form, and 1095B, form for each covered employee. If the entity has 50 or more full-time employees, then you will file 1094C, summary form, and 1095C, form for each covered employee. The returns must be filed with the IRS on or before February 28th, March 31st if you file electronically. Please read IRS instructions for more detail on each form. And this concludes Level 5. In this level, we discussed how year-end can be crazy time of year, but you can help yourself with doing payroll upkeep all year long. And we discussed in detail different annual reports and their requirements. This concludes Level 5 of UAN Payroll 101. We at UAN hope that this course will get you off on the right path towards successful payroll processing. And as always, please call the UAN support line at 1-800-833-8261 whenever you have any questions. This completes Level 5 of Payroll 101. Thank you.